nature.
Yes,
but,
it also
so
includes
good.
that nature.
Yeah, it's
Quite a
so,
statement on nature.
it is beautiful, absolutely lovely. I'm gonna try to get now. Not Roy, but Gary sent me a dream too. So,
Oh, good.
and if Tim comes, we will finish his dream. Oh, let's see. Yeah, Gary had a really good dream too.
Cool.
It was very good. I'm gonna try to get on here. Hey Gary, how's it going? I'm just telling Roy's got a dream. I don't think we're probably gonna see Charles tonight. I'm just thinking because I mean today was the day that he was supposed to take the train there, so
Oh yeah.
I doubt we'll see him. But anyway, I think
And he's headed for New Orleans. Is that right?
yeah, for New Orleans. Wasn't that funny? The dream about the train to New Orleans. I mean, this was right after the dream about the three or the tracks near the Black Wall that led to the from the desert to the forest. You know.
Right. Right.
Get in here, and we might want to start with Gary's dream first, and then we're going to do Roy's dream. If Tim comes, we'll do his dream. And always, Dawn. I mean, your dream that last time, wasn't that great? I really liked that dream. All right, so let's see. I got it. Dial in, and here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna try to get Gary, unless you want to put it in the chat, Gary.
Yeah, I'm trying to copy it now.
Oh, I
Let's
can
see.
copy it too if you don't want it. Tim's here. Well, we could finish Tim's dream first, and then Tim's dream shouldn't take us very long.
All right.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Oh, what had happened here?
I've got it when you're ready.
Okay, yeah, all right. Hey, Tim, I thought we could maybe, we got a dream from Gary and from Roy, but I thought maybe we could finish your dream first if I can find out what I did with the, I did a little bit of an amplification of it. Just a second, let me get up here.
All right, I can.
Yeah, put it in the chat and oh, here it is. I'm sitting on it. Yeah, why don't you put it, and then we'll do Gary's dream and Roy's dream. I mean, great dreams. All of them were great. You know, and you know, it's often good. And I got a chance to spend a little bit of time with Gary and Roy's dreams, but you know, somehow when I'm all by myself, or anybody, I guess, is by himself, you hear a little bit different voice. Well, why don't you read the dream and go ahead and just reread it.
I think this is the right one, isn't it? Sudden livestock.
Yeah, the sudden livestock. Yeah.
Okay. I'm in my studio, surrounded by family and friends with lots of activity, but I'm very busy with deadlines looming. I go downstairs for something and realize that one of my friends has brought in a couple of dogs and a pair of hamsters who just had a litter of babies. I'm horrified because they've been here for a day or more, but nobody has fed or watered them. I take them all upstairs and suddenly they are my new top priority. Nobody seems to be of any help.
Yeah, well, this is great. I mean, this is typical. Nobody seems to be of any help. Is a real good thing about the ego. I mean, we're going to find this in both, at least Gary's dream too. Okay, sudden livestock. So you know, we are now one who tends the animal realm. Suddenly, we've been one who tends the animal realm. Now, this is very interesting that we can get along because the anima is so differentiated, or even people are so differentiated, they're very complicated. So it's difficult to have a relationship with people. but a relationship with the instincts is animals is always fairly simple. And in this case, of course, the animals represent our nature side, that side of us that is well. What do you think, Roy? Why don't you tell us what you think about the animal realm in dreams?
The interesting part of the dream to me that Tim mentioned about the animals, he was relating them to something in himself, maybe his body or his health or something, or some attention to himself. He said near the end of the session where we were talking about Tim's dream. I thought that was very interesting. That's sort of a new development. I don't know how much Tim's thought about that, how important he is, how he has to get in touch with himself, know himself, which the biggest universe in ourself is the body. And he's arrived there.
Yeah, and you've always had animal dreams, more elemental. I've had dreams, always have dogs in them. And like Gary, I was telling you in your meditation that I had, suddenly I saw one of those dreams where you could see mirrors. And it was just a woman with a dog on a leash, just an infinite amount. But, since I've even started doing dreams, all my dreams were about the emaciated instinct, that part of us that is neglected. Now what part of us is neglected? It's the fact that the wisdom is nature. What is really the instinctive part of us that's nature, that wordless wholeness in us that has nothing to do with the conceptual realms. I mean, the idea of what Jung said, there is no such thing as a psychologically sick tiger or a psychologically sick bear, as long as it's in its own element. Okay, so what we're coming into really is this, and we're going to come up with this in Roy's dream, is the Tao. I mean, when his sick nephew goes in amongst the people who live in harmony with nature. So this is, now, isn't this funny that it follows all of these very, just sort of aborted attempts to have a connection with the feminine. Okay, it just one after another of a potential. We can see the House of Poor Women. We can see the place, in the Crazy Women Dream, and all of those. There is this aspect that we can see the feminine realm, but we can't unite with it. I mean, isn't it always? I mean, Roy, you always mentioned something about I forget how it is, but that somehow we're deflected. I can't remember how exactly you put it, but anyway, let's just go through the dreams. Now, first of all, we're in the studio surrounded by family and friends. So we're in the place of our vocation, this place where we do work. And we're surrounded by the collective unconscious, both the ancestors, the family, those who are related to our ancestral realms, and also the collective consciousness in general is there. All this, these people who represent something to do with a collective consciousness, although the ancestral realm is not quite as I don't think it is as cultural as the friends, because it's biological. There's a biological aspect of the family being close, because they don't have to be close to us for cultural reasons. They're close to us no matter what happens to us. But anyway, we're surrounded by the ancestral realm and collective consciousness, which might tell us something. I mean, it's just this. It's what busies us with ego. What ego keeps occupied with. Now, the dream ego has no time. We are so occupied, so full of events. Now this is something everybody I know who is retired, and I don't know, Gary, maybe you can answer this question, or Roy. What my father, a couple other people, they want no appointments. They don't want anything on their schedule today. Nothing. I mean, that's what they really want. So they don't. Now that's a very feminine attitude. The fact that we're totally busy. It has to do with directed thinking. We have very busy schedules. We've got all kinds of schedule deadlines looming, and there are consequences in the collective or the collective realm, the collective conscious realm, if we don't fulfill the obligations that we've taken upon ourselves in the outer realm, outer world. I mean, there's consequences. Basically, just anxiety. A lot of anxiety. Okay, now that's where we are. We're in this vocational realm. We absolutely have no time to brood. That's what alchemical cooking means. That we brood over something. We can just sit and not think about it. We need an answer from you. Okay, come back in a couple days. Let me just sit here and brood upon it. Now, there's no time for that kind of activity here. Okay, now, the dream ego descends. Now, if you descend or ascend, you are going to a different level of facing any issue. So when we go descend, we usually are going into a realm that's closer to the instinctive world, the one that's in the body. When you go down, you're going into the body. When you go up, you're going into the earth, and the body is the little earth. Okay, so now we go downstairs. So we're going down into the instinctive realm, into the body, and away from this collective consciousness realm where we have no time and deadlines looming. Okay, we go down in this realm and we kind of forget about the deadlines that are looming, And why? Why? Because what we find there, what we find are really a quaternity. We find two dogs. So we find these animals, to me, they are my soul animal. They are the animal that is closest connected to the human realm, and yet is very instinctive, yet is friendly with ego consciousness. It's very instinctive, yet it isn't it funny? The dog is very instinctive, and yet it is can't really exist very well without ego consciousness. And yet it's this instinctive aspect. The same with the cat. I don't think the rabbit that Roy dreamt has quite that quality. So now we realize a friend, okay, a friend in the lower realm, or a friend who was in the lower realm, has has left two dogs and left a pair of, let's just call them, they're a small animal, either a mice or hamster, who have many babies. This is like the rabbit, with its babies on the shore that represents the great mother. Okay, this is a maternal symbol. This although it's also related to it's a couple. So I'm assuming it's a male and a female, and that they have this maternal paternal realm with many children. Okay, and then there's the two dogs. So it's paternity. Now I just was guessing that the dogs are also male and female, but it doesn't say. Did you know that? Anything, Tim?
I didn't have any sense that they were
A
that they had
mate,
any distinction. Yeah, or a couple.
mated, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, yeah, we don't know that. I mean, that's just a total supposition. So anyway, it's this newborn life. A friend, okay, some companion who's been in this lower realm has left them here. Yet the dream ego is horrified because he knows that they've been left there without any sustenance, any water, anything. And so now, instead of all these obligations and deadline looming in the upper realms, a new obligation has formed, not of our own doing. It's a obligation that has been imposed upon us by circumstance that we have experienced in the unconscious, okay, in the lower realm, the friend in the lower realm, okay. Now, who's the friend in the lower realm? You know, that's an interesting question. And you would probably, you don't know if it was a male or a female friend, do you? No, okay. Anyway, they have left us the instinctive life. They've left us nature. And one that is ego consciousness, it is dependent upon ego consciousness for its sustenance and its care and its water. And we are horrified because we know this is now our obligation. And now it's become our highest priority. Okay, then we take those contents, the instinctive contents, which are a four, with its new life that has come, and we bring them up into consciousness, the place where all the deadlines are looming and where we have no time. But now it's our highest priority there. Okay. So where did we have to go to get this higher priority, which now has to do with life? We had to descend. Now, what happened to all the deadlines looming and the no time and the busy schedules? They seem to have been forgotten, okay? And we've come up with a new relationship to life, you know? Okay, then let's see what the end of it is. I'm gonna go back over here. So now the dream ego is, well, is alarmed, concerned. These living instincts have been left with unattended, without food. Ego brings them into consciousness. Now, the neglected instincts that we found in the lower realm have suddenly become our highest priority. Nothing takes precedence over tending the instinctual nature within us, within our bodies. Now, if the dream ego does not assume this obligation, the instinctual of the life of the lower world will wither, sicken, and die because there's no one else to help. So what do you think, Roy?
Yeah, you totally digested that. You know, that's it. It's point blank. You know, it was offered to Tim. He picked it up. He understands how important and sacred it is. So that's a good development. It looks good.
Very good. It's a what a wonderful chapters we went through. See, here's this big book that we have of the dreams that we've had over the last 12 to 18 months or something. And what, you know, we went through chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. Where are we now? You know, I mean, we went through taking the tower and putting it, having the earth close around this this masculine consciousness has now been assimilated into earth. We had the one of the wolf eating the fox, like sort of like the snake eating the hamster, and then well, anyway, I mean, maybe somebody can remember some of the other ones. What do you think, Gary?
So yeah, it's like we have a choice. You know, we can live in the head, but if we live in the head, then, you know, we are disconnected. And like all the dreams that Tim had, where, you know, he wasn't able to make connection to the feminine. And then if you don't live in the head, if you go to the somatic, you know, the feeling, then, you know, then the descent into the body, and, you know, and you can see that, you know, the feeling, you know, he really connects with the feeling, you know, he feels emotionally connected to these animals. So that disconnection goes away. So this is, you know, this is a significant dream.
It's definitely eros. There is a absolutely un a demand that must be obeyed of eros here, and the eros is that we must take care of these things. Now, you know, we've had this inability to really, in the unconscious anyway, establish a relationship with the feminine that is shows, or the anima that shows some type of. I'm sure there's been one that showed progress and development, but we've had several that seem to say there couldn't be that connection. So now the dream goes through this iteration of first the all these animals, buffalo, bison, or whatever, and then, you know, the wolf and the fox, and the idea of that descent of the tower. And now it might be saying this is that, okay, we're not able to connect with the feminine. Maybe before we connect with the feminine, with the anima, we need to connect with our body, with our nature realm within us. And once we are in harmony with that little earth, our body, and the nature within us, okay, here's my problem. And I said it my whole life. I was not comfortable in my own skin. Well, how can I relate to the feminine when I'm not comfortable in my own skin? Okay. Now, why am I not comfortable in my own skin? Because it's nature. And my ego consciousness, which is so conceptual, is not comfortable with nature and with the instinctive realm. So that's why I'm not comfortable in my own skin. My own skin is completely comfortable with it. So what's not comfortable? Ego awareness is not comfortable in this skin. It's fine with itself. I'm not fine. You know. So what do you think, Tim? I mean, just what are your thoughts? What was the most important or surprising thing? You know, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, just on the tail end of what you said, that email you sent today of the woman who had been in trauma and went out into nature to heal, that's one of the capacities that I think we share with our body. You know, I think of the body as being like the beginning of my garden that I tend every day, and there's something about the body that's connected to the ego in such a way that you think, oh, you know, it'll be fine. It can take care of itself.
Mhm.
And I think about that kind of with the dogs, that they're not as vulnerable as, for instance, the new life. The new life is really critical. And I note that, you know, if the babies die, it's no big deal. You know, it's a tough life. But because of my values, all of a sudden that becomes my highest priority, because that the waters of life is so important.
You're
And
saving
all of
your own life. Through saving those babies, you're saving your life. But I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't interrupt you. The
yeah,
waters
so
of life.
all the other obligations and deadlines become unimportant, and that becomes the primary thing. And I think that's
Rescuing yourself.
the dreamer is trying to tell me, okay, you know, this is your body, and there are some emergencies you need to deal with. And
You
I
need
don't
to
know what they
redeem
are.
yourself. Redeem yourself. Rescue yourself. I mean, this is the idea, is to descend and rescue ourselves. I didn't mean to interrupt you so much.
No,
I'm sorry.
that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and you know, wasn't that beautiful, that little thing Marie Louise von Franz said about how she's this one woman she deals with, and she says that she just sits on her edge of her bed and cries. She says, well, and no person, no music, no company could help her. The only thing that could help her, she says, when you reach that level, and this one woman, I mean, she says that so stark thing. She says, what was it? She said at the end, she said something like, um, something about what is there to live for? You know, she goes through this thing. There's nothing. Are you trying to tell me there's something to live for? You know, and this just haunted me. And then, so now I'm reading this about the handless maiden. I said, here's the answer. You know, now it's not the answer just to her, it's the answer to us. That jagged realm that she describes, you know, that is seems to be something that a lot of women suffer from. You know, I think men suffer from it more and more. You know, the sense of depression, the sense of disorientation, this sense of that what is Young said that every probably you know, like, I don't know whether he said 40% or whatever of the people who come to him are very successful in the outer world. They're very talented, very educated, and yet they're sick, just like this. What are they sick from? You know, because they're separated from their bodies. They're not comfortable in their own skin. So if we were comfortable with our own bodies, at that point, let's say we're totally in harmony with the instinctive and bodily realms. At that point, if we were in that state, what do you think the anima would think? Royan, do you have any? Let's just go around one more time.
Yeah, well, then we would have to pay attention to her. We would notice her. We would have feelings for her. You know, the thing about the instincts is, in nature, is, you know, you have feelings, you have desires, you even have rejections. We reject things, and that causes suffering. You know, that's what the Buddha talks about. It's really about suffering, like the suffering. But if we don't suffer, we can't get to the teleos that nature has. You know, nature has a teleos, and that's self-realization. It's not premeditated. It's not conscious of it. It's just built into the instinctual part of nature that it strives towards. It's not conscious of it, but we're conscious of it. And if we don't get in touch with our instincts, we can't experience it. And until we can experience it ourselves and feel it ourselves, we can't take the next step, which is towards self-realization. So it's all built in. All you have to do is open up to it.
Yeah, and when we do that, when we're relating to the instinctive bodily realms, where's the conceptual in that? You know,
Just forget that. Just forget. That's trivia.
Yeah.
It's trivia.
Yeah, and when we're dealing with the anima, there was that one beautiful thing in the Kingdom Without Space, where that one woman that the guy wanted to deal with, he's been following her. He follows her into her father's business, and she says nothing. She just looks at him and smiles. She doesn't want to talk. You know, she just wants to be, just to be with him. Don't speak. Don't speak. You know, and don't think. Just be with me. Of course, he couldn't do that. You know, and that was one of his issues. What do you think, Gary?
Well, I think it's been said really well, but it's the new realm, and becoming, comfortable in it, and letting go of the head and going with the instincts and the feeling.
It's a great rejoinder to this amazing 6 to 12 month journey of dreams that Tim has had. It's an amazing sort of a jujitsu of all of those things. It's kind of going back to basic principles, the first principles. And I mean, to me, the elemental aspect of these last maybe month's worth of dreams, even though I think there was one or two that was a little uncomfortable, are a new way of approaching the problem. And the problem is the same problem that we had before, but it's stating it in a way. We're making this too complicated. Let's try to simplify it. It's been working with us, but somehow we haven't gotten the message, okay, of these dreams that it's been sending. So it says, okay, I'm going down to this level, and now I'm not, forget about all this, about the woman who follows the spiritus rector and all of that kind of stuff. And let's go down here where there is no confusion. And now, what dream have we ever had that we've been talking about, where the like Roy says, this immediate let's say affect, and that's what Jung calls it, the emotional attachment, the feeling function, the sense of eros. Eros is that aspect of, Jung says anybody who thinks eros is sex has no idea what eros is. Eros is the idea of a connecting with that one who's right in front of us. The horizon is me and you. And it doesn't have anything to do with, I was thinking too about sex, the idea of it's sort of a momentary phenomena, yet it's powerful and overwhelms us. But if it is powerful and overwhelms us, it's because we're a little bit unconscious, the one who is conscious of it treats it in a different manner than the one who's overwhelmed by it, But I just think that the very interesting thing, Tim, is to see what follows this thing. But whew, I love it. It's just absolutely, to me, is this is our obligation. This is what is our new highest priority. I mean, what did you think when you heard those words? This is my new highest priority after all these deadlines looming, etc.
Well, the first thing, of course, is frustration because I spend most of my waking hours trying to deal with the outside world. But in some ways, one of the things that's coming up in my art is sort of the uh, undeniable intelligence of nature and the body. And so I'm trying to become more aware. I'm trying to bring the animals up into consciousness and trying
If
to
I
be
if
more
if I could,
responsive, you know.
yes. See, if I could afford it, I would do that sacral cranial sacral therapy all the time
Yeah.
because it really helped me. The only thing I didn't like about this woman is before she was concentrating on the feet, on the abdomen, on the heart, on my arms and legs and calves. Well, then she goes down to somebody in Sedona, Arizona, who's supposedly an expert on it, and she spends 90 minutes holding my head. That's the last thing I need, you know. Well, anyway, let's we got some two other dreams, and let's try to split them up so we can spend an equal time on. Gary, do you want to get your dream in there in the chat, and then
I'll need to go by 7 today. So
okay, no problem. I saw you looking at the clock, so don't worry about it. Just leave whenever you have to, Tim. But I'm glad we got this because it's so important. Okay, go ahead, Gary.
Okay. I call this one the kid. My single son suddenly has an 8-year-old boy I am helping to take care of. I have just moved into a separate apartment in the apartment complex he lives in. It is the first time I've taken care of him. He's at my apartment and he says something to the effect of, well, I'm not sticking around, and he walks out. It seems that almost as soon as he goes out the patio doors, he is gone. I decided to go look for him. The grounds have these surprisingly large terraces, some of which have their own buildings on them. On one of the terraces, there is a dance school with a group of very young girls taking dance lessons. I think that he might like that and that I will check with him about enrolling when I find him. I am now in a large underground parking lot, trying to find my way out. I located the kid and he was with me for a while, and he also said that he wanted to do the dance class. I come across someone who works in the parking garage and I ask for directions on how to get out. Instead, he starts explaining about something else. It does not matter, as I see some light from outside and I'm able to crawl through an opening. I have no idea where my apartment is or how to find it. At one point, I see a back door that might be to my apartment, and I open the door and call out. A woman appears and offers some explanations on how to locate my place. I eventually find my place, but it is different. It seems there is an area that is unexplored, a very large, eloquent kitchen.
You mean elegant or?
Yeah, elegant.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, oops. Yeah, I guess that was
That's
the wrong.
okay. I just was sort of proofreading when I read it. Either way.
Yes, yes, the kitchen spoke.
Yes, the kitchen was very well. Anyway, so now Ian is your son that's not married, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so let's not say that it's the phenomenal son initially, but again, it is this is a son without a wife, a son without the feminine presence, and this son without the feminine presence has a 4 times 2 child, an 8. Okay. And it's the son of the son, and he's an 8. So what does that tell us? You know, there's an aspect. Now, you have had some dreams. So you sort of become the surrogate mother of this child. Now, because he's the father, he doesn't have a mother. So you're going to help take care of him. So to some extent, you can have two fathers, but I think that you're going to take the more maternal uh, uh, duties. Okay, so now remember, what was that dream where you were a woman? Or
Oh, yeah,
remember?
yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah,
I think there's been a couple of those
I
actually.
think so.
Yeah. So anyway, we're associated with the feminine realm. We become its substitute. Now, this is very interesting that instead of the woman appearing in a very strong way, like she has in some of Tim's dreams, she's absent, and yet, so ego, the dream ego, sort of is now. Remember, the Anima told us that she was going to cut down her group down to 3, and we're not included.
Yeah, right.
Now, yeah, I mean, it's just a beautiful image, but I mean, the whole idea is there is some aspect where dream ego becomes sort of sublimated and sort of the anima is using our consciousness to express herself. You know, I mean, or somehow the feminine is going to express herself through us. And that's a very interesting thing, the fact that it's come up at least 2, maybe 3 times. Okay, now we relocate to the place of the birth of the 4 times 2 son. Okay, and this is the first time we assume that role when we get there. And what does he say when we walk into the apartment to watch him, because Ian's not there or the son is not there? 8 years old. Well, I'm not sticking around. So he just leaves. So he's not recognizing our authority or our role as his caretaker. He remains autonomous. Okay. Now, you know this, Roy. I mean, Gary, because you've mentioned it. When there is a figure within us that is autonomous, it means that we have not become conscious of it. We don't have a relationship with it. We're integrated. You know, for instance, the anima. If she's autonomous, what is she going to do? She's going to marry the shadow. Okay. So now this is that divine child within us, or something, that growing thing within us, and it is autonomous. So in that case, it exists, but ego consciousness is sort of tangential to it. It is there. It is a symbol of what we do need to be conscious of. But since we're not, it is on its own. Okay. Autonomous, somewhat like the anima who marries our shadow. Okay. So now the autonomous self disappears, just completely gone. And so now we know we must go searching for it. And the place that we're searching has a great numinous quality. It has, it's of great magnitude and breadth. Okay. Now, as we're walking through it, what do we find there? A dance school. Whew, you know, when I lived at the University of Iowa, when I went to the University of Iowa, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Joffrey Ballet. You know, it's from San Francisco, but he's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's just a very classical ballet, but they do some modern dance. But they, right near where I stayed, they had this place with windows that were about probably 12, 15 foot high, went all the way down to the floor, and they would be practicing in there all night. and I'd walk by there and I'd just see this beautiful, this absolutely, you know, it's like you've been transported out of reality because this is so beautiful. And I would go. I couldn't afford really good seats, and if you sat in the front row, your seat was really. And when you're there, when they're running across the wooden floor, it's like a slumber party. I mean, with their little ballet slippers, they make all this, and you can't hear that up above. And then while they're doing it, I'm sitting there and I'm just absolutely enraptured. And this one girl looks me right in the eye and winks at me. Beautiful ballerina, And anyway, so this is a very interesting addition to this numinous place. There is a place of the Anima there, and the place of the Anima who's related to Dionysus. She's a dancer. She is one who dances. Now you, Gary, have a lot of relationship with almost like this Tai Chi type of fox walking or something. But anyway, it's very symbolic. Rather than art, it is dance. The art or singing or poetry or music. This is dance. Okay, and this seems to be sort of something within you that resonates. Okay, and yet it's also the feminine. Okay, now while you're there, you think, well, maybe I should enroll this child in here. He might enjoy this, and he should participate in this growing thing. See, the 8-year-old child is really us. It is a aspect of our own self, and yet it's going off and doing its own thing. We have not linked into it so that we move around with it. It's moving around without us. So we're thinking of ourselves that we should have a relationship with the feminine of dance. You've ever seen those women in Japan or in Asia, in Southeast Asia, these in India, they're very beautiful dances that they do. It's just amazing. Okay, so we're thinking we should, because this is that aspect of us that we're not, it is us, but we're not linked with it yet. It's free of us, and yet we know it's part of us. The problem is religio. Okay, what does the word religion mean? It means to connect again with the source. So to connect again with the soul, and we're not connected. In this case, it's really the divine child. I was going to show a picture too of just this. A Meister Eckhart had the God appear to him one time. It came into his house, and it's a naked child, okay, naked boy, but it's God, and he has this wonderful saying to him. He says, he asks, I'll find it here in a second. I'll find it when Roy starts talking. Let me finish this. But anyway, then we go into the depths. We go into the underground. Now it's a parking lot, so it has to do with this this sort of a vehicle that it represents psyche. We ride in psyche, so that's why whenever we're thinking about cars, we're contained in something that moves of itself. And yet often, Tim's had these dreams, I've had these dreams, we're not driving it. Who's driving it? It's not us. Somebody else is driving it. we're not the master in our own house. So anyway, we go there, and by the way, the 8-year child is there. And he does agree that he would like to have this relationship with the feminine place of dance. Okay, now the ego can't find its way out, so it asks for directions. But down there, we ask it the question, it looks at us and listens to it, and doesn't respond. Starts talking about something else, and so then we have to go forward. Well, we see a light and we squeeze out, and the ego finds its way out. But now it's back in this sort of this expansive realm with all the terraces, the beautiful buildings, the dance, the place of dance of the women, and we can't find our way back to the new apartment that we had. And now we see a back door, and it looks familiar, and we call out, and the anima comes. This is the first anima that's spoken to us, and it gives us the orientation we need to return. We find our way back. Okay. Now, after this adventure, we find our way back to the place. But like Jung said too, that we found new unexplored areas in what was previously our home. And it came because of this little journey that we did, seeing the place of dance, suggesting to our own young God within us that it should get involved with it, and taking that, making, after we went into descent. I guess I'm not sticking around here. Well, where did it go? It's not going to stick around in the collective consciousness. It's going to go down to the depths. It's autonomous, and we have to meet it there, Okay, and then what else is there? A very elegant kitchen. Okay. This very numinous place, and it's very large, place of transformation, of brooding, of cooking, of sitting on something and making it hatch. That's what you know what the vessel that with the heat under it in alchemy represents. The heat is our ego attention. The attention that the ego gives to the vessel is the heat that makes it activate. Okay. Well, anyway, that's what do you think, Roy? Or why don't you go first, Tim? Yeah, let Tim go first, since he's got to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Boy, this is fascinating. I've been doing some head scratching here about the meaning of the sun. So, and just thinking about the psychological symbol of the sun and the grandson, there are different ways of thinking about it, but I'm just wondering if maybe the sun is a new way of looking at the world, kind of like a new generation, comes up in a totally different world than we grew up in. And what is that capacity that is able to look at something in a new way? And then that happens again, and the young boy is this kind of this wild spirit maybe that just doesn't feel comfortable and needs to get out of here. And your instinct, I think, is excellent in going after him, because he's going to be important. And the terraces, to me, are the internal stages where different forms of awareness or different forms of life can happen. And one of which is the stage of the creative mystery, where there's real activity and there's something visceral and exciting going on there. And then in the depths, finding the boy, you make the connection that that this part of you needs that creative enterprise that the young feminine dance group has. So that's a really critical realization. It's interesting, this image of getting lost underground. That's something that I think I would think about a little bit. What is the implication of getting lost? I mean, if it was me, it might be spending so much time in that kind of artistic reverie that I'm not getting any, I'm not bringing it out. I'm not, I'm just going down in the mine and sitting there and enjoying it rather than bringing out the gold. So that's a image I would spend a little time on. And then
keep going, Tim.
Keep coming back to the home. It seems like after an adventure like that, you can't go home, and that's why the apartment, you can't recognize it because you've been moved by the experience of going under and finding the boy who is also really receptive to that idea of the creative life. But the Anima figure that comes out will be your guide. So it seems like this is all a really good indication that things are unfolding as they should, and that you're in the right place and everything else is in the right place. It's a really positive image.
Yeah, well, you got to go, Tim, but it's thank you.
I've got a few more minutes, so go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's also come after a long drought of Gary's dreams. So and I just think every one of these images gives me goosebumps. I'm sorry, Roy. I didn't mean to. I thought Tim, I thought he.
Glad you did. Good.
So go ahead, Roy. What do you think?
Yeah, I've said about Gary that he has this little girl or child in him that he ignores or he seems to want to control. But in this dream, how, that's never going to work for the dream ego. He realizes it, and he goes after the kid. He knows what the kid has something that the dream ego doesn't have. He's not just a kid. And Gary knows it, and he's in these layers, stratification, and he picks it right out, the young girls and the dance. And the kid goes for it. He's relating, that's Eros, he's relating to the kid, which is a huge breakthrough. He's not trying to control the kid, he's relating to the kid. And for me, the underground parking lot, it's like the underworld. But Gary spent a long time in the underworld wandering around. And he's not going to get any directions there. He's just going to have to find the light. He's going to have to see the light, and then he'll know the way out. And when he finally gets back home, it's totally transformed. Now he's got an alchemical lab where he can introspect and brew and transform. I mean, this dream is kicking it. I mean, he's moving now. I really like it.
Yes, it's a typical overguard dream. I mean, Ian and Ivan and Gary, whoever is writing their dreams, are very eloquent. I just wanted to show you this one little thing about. Now, remember, one of the reasons that this divine child, the son of the sun, 8 years old, so independent, so autonomous, is he is the divine child. So, he's not under the control of ego. We're related to him in his growing aspect, but here's this thing that Meister Eckhart, he actually met him. So Eckhart discovers this boy and he asks him, "Where do you come from?" And he says, "I come from God. I come from the realm of 8. Where are you going to? Where are you going?" "I'm going to God. I come from God. I'm going to God." on his journey. He's come from God, and where is he going on the journey? He's going to God. Where will you find him? I will find him when I leave all created things. Isn't that beautiful? Now, this actually happened. This is what Jeffrey Raff would call a psychoid experience, because this was not a vision. He actually saw the boy, and he says, "Who are you?" And he says, "A king." And he says, "Where is your kingdom?" "It's in my heart." And then Meister Eckhart says, "But no one shares it with you. So I share it with them. My kingdom that's in my heart." And he says, Eckhart takes the boy to his room, says, "Take any clothing you like." He's naked. And he says, "Then I would not be a king." The boy replies, and he vanishes. Anyway, this is somewhat, I think, the same character that's in Gary's dream. It's just this absolutely, yeah, we'll see you later, Tim. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.
Okay, we'll see you next time. Okay, well, anyway, it is that, it's just a beautiful, I just thought of it when I read about this. So let's just go over it one more time here. Okay.
So is that another one of those posters that you created,
Yes.
Craig? God, you do. I love those.
Well, I used to call these note cards of my study. Every time I would come around something this beautiful, I would say what Hillman used to say: "From this beauty, something must come." That was his, and that was actually a statement from a poem by Ezra Pound, and that from all this beauty, something must come, and it was, from just the reading, when you read something very beautiful, you don't want to let it go away. So, anyway, that was how I started doing this. That was really it was very helpful to me too, because it was very helpful in memorization. So anyway, let's just go over this one more time. There is a child born, and he has no mother. Let's just start with that. And he's an 8, so he comes from the realm of 8. In the Gospel of Judas, when he meets Jesus for the first time, he says, "I know where you come from. You come from the immortal realm of Barbello." And the immortal realm of Barbello is she whose God is A4. That is the immortal realm of Barbello. She was a figure in Gnostic wisdom, this goddess, somewhat like the Virgin Mary. One thing too, Marion Woodman says about the word virgin, she says it doesn't mean this innocent little girl. She says it means he or she, what was it that Isis says, "No man has seen me unveiled." She is virgin like a virgin forest. She is something that is unspoiled by man. So there's not the aspect that she's innocent; she's unspoiled. So anyway, that reminded me too. This child who's an 8. And Young mentions that story about the Gospel of Judas, where this girl of about 8 years old had a fatal illness, and she had this amazing series of about 16 dreams, and her father brings them to Young, and they were just the most beautiful dreams ever, and they were all about fours, about a 4, the number 4. So anyway, this child is an 8, a 2x4, 4x2, and he is now in this case, the father who has no wife, suddenly we don't even hear about him anymore. The father who has no mother for the child, we suddenly are supposed to become its mother. You know, I mean, I'm just this is just, I guess, and the only reason I'm guessing that is because Gary has had these dreams before where he's assuming the feminine role. Okay, now we relocate to this place. Okay, and this place is an amazing place with these great terraces and these great buildings, you know. And the son tells us, "I'm not sticking around," and so he disappears. He goes into the depths. We have to seek him there, and so we go down into the, like Roy said, into the unconscious, and he is there. But on the way there, we go past the place of feminine. It's really is the place of the creative feminine, you know, and she's represented by a ballerina. Okay, and I used to have a picture in my office of they closed the Houston Ballet, and it had these pictures of all these ballerinas, and they were all sad when they heard it close. And it was just this beautiful picture of this sad ballerinas. But anyway, we see this realm of the feminine in this just unbelievable place of great magnitude. And then we say that this aspect, who is a part of us, this 8, could benefit from this. Now, we can't benefit, but it can benefit. Why can it benefit and not us? There's some aspect where it would benefit from being in the school of girl dancers, but not us, you know. But we go into the depth. We mention to him, he agrees, you know. But then we can't find our way out. We ask someone, he can't help us. He doesn't even hear what we say. We find a little, we're like Tom Sawyer lost in the cave. We see a light and we go to it, and then we crawl our way out, you know. And then we come out and then we still don't know where we are. So we go around and we find a back door, somebody's back door, and we call out. And then the feminine comes to us and orients us. She's the bridge to the other world. She orients us. Okay, now after all of these things come back, we come back, and what has really happened is what Henri Corbin says about imagination. It is something, that word comes from the word to magnify, and it means to expand consciousness. From this experience that we had, that place that we are now, where ego consciousness resides, has expanded. And what does it have? It has the magical place of transformation, the kitchen, that is very elegant. So it's very numinous. It's not an ordinary kitchen. It's not the ordinary kitchen. So anyway, Gary, what do you think? We probably better get on to Roy's dream here too.
Oh my gosh, yeah, thank you so much. You know, I looked at this, and, you know, I don't know, there's something about when you look at your own dreams, they just make no sense, you know. So it helped a great deal.
We have a blind spot about anything that has to do with us, and particularly me. To ask me what my shadow is, I have no idea, and I bet you guys could all tell me. What do you have any final comments about Roy? We can review it next time too, but I thought we should.
I'm just happy that he's relating to the child. You know, that'll open up all kinds of stuff. You know, that's how you open up to creativity and progress.
It's a wonderful gift too, because of the long drought that we've had, you know, as far as the unconscious. Well, anyway, let's look at Roy's dream. I wish I would start just a little bit earlier, but I'm going to put it in the chat. again, this is of absolute, I mean, all these dreams have been amazing. Let me just get this one in here. And I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay. Sorry, I get so excited, you know, I can't shut up. These things, it's just very suggestive. Okay, now this, okay, I'll get the last part of it in there. 2 springs to drink is where the things go. There are 2 springs here to get water to drink from them. So, yeah, there's not much left after that. All right. All right. Over here. All right. Go ahead, Roy.
Okay, this dream was on 9/20, but here it is Columbus Day, and it's a dream about Indians. So that's sort of some synchronicity that I like. What is the madness? I dreamed about my nephew James, who committed suicide in his late 50s. In the dream, he would go out and live with the Indians in the wilderness, with the clean water and the great trees. I stayed in the cultivated areas where men filled in the wilderness with dirt and rock and plugged the springs and polluted the streams. In fact, in the dream, I was plugging one of 3 springs. The other 2 springs were allowed to run a little bit. My nephew James was sick. I told people that he was sick, but no one believed me. I went to visit him in the hospital once and saw him sick. That is how I knew. He would get well and feel good and go back out with the Indians. I saw him when I was working plugging the spring and told him he was sick. He needed water, but not to go back out to the Indians. There were 2 springs here to get water to drink from. I don't know if he did, that is, drink from them.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, this is what is the madness? Now, James is your sister's son?
That would be my half-brother's kid,
Your
my half-brother's kid, son,
Okay.
his youngest son.
Mhm. Well, he just sort of represents a aspect of their. What do you know why? Was there any say clarity about his committed suicide, or was it just?
Well, for me, it was. For me, it was. I kind of saw it in his chart back in the 70s when I did his chart, and I had to talk to him about it. And he had a grand cardinal trine. I mean, that's kind of like what's the senator's name? Alexandria Cortez or Cassia Cortez.
AC or
yeah,
whatever.
AOC,
yeah.
AOC. She has a cardinal. She has a cardinal trine in her chart. I mean, these people are just dynamos. I mean, they can be president of anything. And he had that, but he used it to destroy himself, and he was very self-destructive. And he was a very nature person, and he had a biggest heart I ever seen on a person. But he used all that strength to destroy himself. It was a sad thing.
Was it addiction or alcohol or?
Yeah, alcohol, cocaine, self-indulgence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's trying to find the spiritual.
That's right.
That's right. In the young witch.
Yes.
The one of addiction. Instead of the one of transformation.
With a cardinal trine, you don't do that, and you're going to dig too deep.
And it's a common malady in this age.
Oh yeah.
Because no one takes the divine seriously. So anyway, it's just this young. So we know that it's James, and we know that he committed suicide in the 50s. But the suicide here only plays sort of a symbolic role, because he doesn't commit suicide. He's alive in the dream and, all this. But he is someone who is wounded and sick. Okay. and this comes up really beautifully.
This is a
later.
classic scapegoat child. You know, every
Yeah.
family has one.
Mhm. He now he left to live with those who live in harmony with nature, with clean waters and great magnificence. So this is very much like that woman who von Franz was talking about. She's very sick. She just sits on the edge of her bed and cries, and nothing can help her. And von Franz says, when you're in that state, there's only one healing, and that is to go into to become in harmony with nature. You know. So anyway, he goes there. Now, meanwhile, Roy, this is a recurring theme from the previous dream. Roy stays in the cultivated areas where collective consciousness has, with fill dirt, you know, covers up the wilderness, the wildness, just with fill dirt, and it plugs up the springs. Okay, now you know. Young in Bollingen had a spring there, or I don't know how, he might have a couple, but he always would try to keep a path from the spring open so that the spring would flow down to the Lake Zurich so he could hear, you know, the water when he slept there. He liked to hear the water. But he'd have to would keep getting stopped up, and he kept trying to fill it out. And von Franz was helping him. And while they're digging, he looks at her and says, "This is what I've spent my whole life doing, digging out springs." Okay. Now, what does it mean to plug up a spring? Okay.
Well, you see, that's what you have to do initially. If you drink from the wild spring, you're in the Dionysian state, you're in the instinctual state. And in the modern world, it's going to destroy you, because that's what they've been doing to Dionysus since the Romans. And so you have to go into the underworld. You have to go through this long period of suffering, which Jung did. And then when you come out the other side, you have self-realization. You've got to the point where you're conscious enough that you understand these forces, these wild forces. You're able to differentiate, like you were talking about all the time, Greg. And
Yeah.
and then it works. And then it works. That's the process. It's the integration process. And since Jung went through that in his older age now, he could dig out the wild spring. And it worked.
Well, in this case, let's just add, just put it like this. What does the spring do? It's sort of the water of life, and it's flowing from the underworld into our world. Okay.
It's the will.
Yeah. The well, you mean?
The will, W-I-L, as Schopenhauer talks about.
Yeah, okay.
The will,
Yeah,
these volitional forces like love and hate and courage and joy. It's the will. Which is a free-flowing thing. It's a spontaneous thing. It's endogenous inside of us. It's not in the external world. It's an endogenous force in the collective unconscious. It pours out of the spring. It's the will.
But for us, we need to stay in the cultivated areas, and we use filled dirt to obscure the wildness, and we need to stop the spring from flowing into that cultivated area. How is that how you would describe it, Roy?
Yeah, we do that. That's the integration process. We have to differentiate. The thing about humans are that animals can't do, instinctual work can't do. It can't differentiate. It can't introspect and reference and self-reflect. That's part of the integration process. That's why when you read history, that's the whole Dionysus Christ thing. It's suppressing the instincts in nature to go through this process for self-realization. That's what I was doing. That's why I was filling in things and moving the dirt around and stuff. That's the integration process. I'm self-differentiating out of nature.
Yeah, you're providing structure to something that is, it has no structure from ego consciousness. So let's say that you're a schizophrenic, and you want to self-heal. What you need to do is have clear boundaries, and you need to have some protection against the uncontrolled flow of the unconscious into a place that will just make you, where you will lose touch with reality. So what you're really doing is bringing reality into something that is, you're trying to combine reality with the unconscious. But in some aspect, the unconscious has been flowing too strongly. And so we need to have in order to absolutely have a relationship with the unconscious, we have to do the same thing that Charles did. We have to have weight, we have to have gravity, we have to have new suits, we have to have persona, we have to have structure in the outer world. Once we have a very strong reality function, then our ego is strong enough now that we could have a relationship with the unconscious, where before we couldn't, because this was in art therapy. My niece, who was schizophrenic, I was her guardian. What they would do, where they would have her draw things, and she had an outer ego. Her outer ego was her book of drawings, and they would open them up, and every time they would do this, say, "Look, Allison, you drew this. Do you remember that?" Oh, yeah. So in other words, they were establishing an ego in the outer realm, a structure, so that she would now have some foothold in reality. What do you think about that, Roy?
Well, nature and instincts don't have an outer reality. They have no external world. Nature and instincts are totally endogenous. That's why when Jung was in Africa and he looked at the Serengeti plain, he realized that nobody saw this until humans came. Yeah. It just automatically happens. Nobody to observe it. It's just an endogenous thing. There's no external world where this cinnamon tastes spicy, this salt is salty, this thing is sweaty or hairy. There's nobody doing that. There's nobody observing the external world and having perspectives, because in the nature and instinctual world, that doesn't happen. It's totally endogenous and automatic. It's experiential.
Yeah, what Logos does is provide the archetype of meaning, and what you're doing is what Jung said is you're lighting a candle in the darkness of mere being, is how he described it. So anyway, let's just finish it quick because we need to hear what Gary has to say. So now there are 3 springs, and you plugged one spring, and you muddied the clearness of the water of life. But there are 3 springs, and 2 of them are pristine. Now this son, who is somewhat wounded, we knew he was sick because we'd seen him before in the hospital, in the place of healing. So we knew he was sick. No one else believed us. So we knew that he had a psychic illness. No one else gave credence to that. Oh, come on, Roy. He's just a little irresponsible, a little silly. No, he's wounded. And as you're plugging your spring, you're bringing reality function into your realm. You tell this James that he is not well, and you know that he's too dry, he's too sterile, and he needs water. So what do you mean by that? Because now you're plugging up the spring, but he is sick and he needs springs and water.
Well, if he goes out back to the Indians where the springs run free, he's not differentiating. But if he drinks from the plug spring that is just running a little bit, he's differentiating. He has to deal with this thing that's not of the natural world, that you can only get a little water. And you have to be grateful for it, because it's a damn miracle the spring's still working. That's what he needed, but I don't know. I didn't know how to get him there.
He wants to flee to the stupor of a cocaine high. That's his only escape. What, Gary, do you want to, are you there, Gary?
Yep.
Yeah. I just wondered if you want to make a few comments.
Yeah, I'm actually learning quite a bit from what Roy's saying. It's like, because this was like, it's like Roy seems to have this experience of working in the unconscious and bringing the conscious down there to make the differentiation. The thing that I'm struggling with here is that, the James in the dream, because, by connecting with the unconscious and bringing differentiation in, he's now able to see something that no one else can. And so, he tells them that he can't go with the pure instinctual, that he needs water, but he needs water that's been, the water with the differentiation. And so, the dream feels very inconclusive to me. The dream in this case, it's almost like, it's just like a story. I don't know if there's a message there. It's like this is something which is going on. This is what's happening now.
What's the name of the dream again? It's
what is this madness? What is the madness? Yeah.
What is this madness? Now, we'll finish this up next time. But Roy, in your case, you want to commune with nature, but first you have to have a place of departure that's clearly anchored in reality. That's the only way you can have a relationship with deep unconscious. Okay. Now, in his case, what do you think? Now you want go ahead.
The moral is okay. How do you help somebody that's in this state? I told him not to go back to the Indians, to not go to the pure springs. I mean, how do you get somebody? You can lead the horse to the trough, but how do you get him to drink the water? I mean, the horse has got to do that. I gave him the information, but you can't control a horse. It's just pure instinct. You don't know if he drank from the trough or not. You can talk to him all day till you're blue in the face, but you're talking to instinct. It can't comprehend what you're saying. It can see that you're excited and you're concerned and all this stuff, but it doesn't understand. It doesn't have the ability to understand. So I don't know if it drank for the trough or not. And I've always had that problem all my life, talking to certain people that have this kind of problem. You can't control it. You don't know what they're going to do. You can just show them things and talk to them, but you don't know what they're going to do. You can't ever assume that they understand.
No, they don't. It reminds me though of my wife's sister. Her brother said, in some drug experience that they both beheld the flame of where all meaning comes from. And he says, I spent the rest of my life trying to find it again, and she snuffed it out. You know, I mean, it's just, I think this is sort of this relationship that you have. We'll talk about it next time. I just would like to contrast your attitude with James's attitude, because you're basically trying to solve the same problem in two different ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you, Roy and Gary and Dawn. It's always if you have a dream, make sure you get it to us. I'm hoping Charles will be here next time. But thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks, Dawn.